Hey guys, it's Tim Miller from the Bulwark. Make sure to subscribe to the feed. We have breaking news. We have the full police report from the Pete Hegseth sexual assault allegation. The news comes first out of Mediaite. For those who are not familiar with the story, Pete Hegseth was at some sort of conservative conference in Monterey, California. At this conference, he was flirting with multiple women and had an altercation with one of them that ended up with that woman and Pete Hegseth having a sexual encounter. She says that it was non-consensual. He says it was consensual. The police report offers a lot more details about the allegation. And here's one thing for sure. The incoming Secretary of Defense, or the nominated Secretary of Defense, rather, was behaving astonishingly poorly and using horrific judgment at a minimum before the kind of debated encounter over whether he forced sex on a woman against her will. So let's run through this police report because it's truly something. And before I get into the details of this police report, I just should offer a trigger warning if for any viewers that do not want to hear the details of an alleged sexual assault. It gets pretty grimy. Okay, so it starts here. The police are first made aware of this situation of the alleged assault when the woman, who we're going to call Jane Doe, who was 30 at the time, submitted for a rape kit exam at a local hospital. A nurse from the hospital called an officer at the Monterey Police Department to report the assault claim. Again, obviously some credibility there. She's at this conference. She's actually with her family when this is happening. So to then go to the hospital in the city that she's visiting obviously shows that she was extremely concerned about what had happened and felt like she needed medical attention. So then police come to the hospital, and during that conversation with Doe, she reports that she had spoken with Hegseth on the final night of the conference, during which attendees were drinking in a suite. Doe told police that Hegseth was flirting with many women and putting his hand on their legs while he was drinking, and that this prompted her to tell Hegseth that she didn't appreciate him none too much. There were two different women who attended the conference and spoke with police and said that Hegseth put his hand on their legs and asked them to come back to his room on separate occasions. So, again, there is some veracity here that Hegseth is at least being a sexual aggressor, being a bit of a creep, going up to multiple women, touching them, and asking them to come back with him to their hotel room. It was one of those women who said that Hegseth was flirting with them against their interest, who said they called Jane Doe over to act as a buffer, to be like, all right, bro, give us a little space here. All right, what happens right after that kind of is fuzzy. The next thing that we know is Jane Doe and Hegseth end up outside by the pool sometime after midnight. At 1:30 a.m., a staffer at the front desk of the hotel said that they had been called and gotten a number of complaints from other people in the hotel about a couple that was screaming and that was having a loud argument out by the pool and how it was bothering them as they were trying to sleep. After a few of those calls, the front desk staffer goes out to engage with Hegseth and Doe and figure out what's going on. And this is like the most mega preposterous part of the whole story. This shows you how deep in the sauce Pete Hegseth is, and I don't just mean the liquor because he was deep in that, but I just mean deep in the sort of mega worldview. Because when this poor hotel staffer comes out to tell them to chill out by the pool at 1:30, Pete Hegseth starts screaming and berating that staffer, talking about how he has freedom of speech. I have freedom of speech, bro. I'm allowed to shout at this younger woman who's married by the pool because she doesn't want to make out with me. I'm allowed to fucking shout at people, all right? I've had 2 divorces, okay? Like, I can do whatever I want, all right? Have you ever heard of the First Amendment? It's reminiscent for me of Drunk Randy at after his kid's baseball game in South Park, saying, "This is America."
I thought this was America. Huh? Isn't this America?
So anyway, after Pete Hegseth, New York Times bestseller, wannabe Secretary of Defense, finished yelling at a poor hotel staffer about his freedom of speech rights drunkenly by a pool while harassing a married woman. The woman starts to take Hegseth away and is like, come on, let's go, let's go. And there's some video footage, according to the police report, of her kind of leading him by the arm to a hotel room. And this is kind of the frame of the Hegseth side of the story. He says he's the hammered one and she's sober or relatively sober when they go back to the hotel room. That's his defense against the fact that he did something to her against her will, that he sexually assaulted her against her will. Again, if we just pause on that for a second, just in itself, again, that's not exactly showing great judgment for somebody that's going to be in charge of 3 million people. Somebody that aspires to this job, leading, one of the largest bureaucracies in the world, leading America's fighting force, leading the men and women who are sacrificing for this country. He wants to be at the top of that chain. And meanwhile, like, he's so hammered by the pool that he can't control himself, and he needs a married woman to help walk him back to his hotel room to prevent him from shouting down a random hotel employee. Not great judgment. If like, this is a question of judgment, right? And not just assault, because we'll get to the assault point, but just as a matter of, if you're reviewing whether this person should be Secretary of Defense, judgment comes into play here. Not the best judgment, to say the least. So he says he's buzzed, and she's taking him back. She says that she thinks that somebody must have slipped something in her drink, because she actually can't remember what happens from the pool to the hotel room. She said that her next memory is she's in this unknown room. She says that Hegseth took her phone and blocked the door with his body when she tried to leave. She told police she said no repeatedly. She said she was next on a bed or a couch, and Hegseth was on top of her with his dog tags hovering over her face. Hegseth, she said, jerked off on her stomach. And then threw her a towel and asked her if she was okay. She doesn't remember how she got back to her room. Hegseth's version of the story is that it was consensual, and that afterwards he sensed that she had some regret. In a second phone call with police after the initial interview, Doe provided more recollection. She said she was suffering from nightmares and memory loss since. Another person who spoke with police said Doe would cry secretly and out of the blue since that night. Look, a horrific story. It is certain, because we have the testimony of the hotel employee, that Pete Hegseth was acting like a total ass clown. This is a person, I've mentioned this before. Look, I had no judgment against people who get divorced, but he's about 40, and he's had 3. He's on marriage 3. Cheated on, impregnated a staffer, is drunkenly shouting down hotel staff while inappropriately flirting with multiple women at a conservative conference. I mean, like, this guy's personal life is a disaster. This guy's personal life is a total disaster. And he just shows time and time again, like that this is not the type of person that has the judgment to be in a role of serious responsibility with life or death decisions on the line. So that is the minimum that we know. As for the assault, I think that it is a credible testimony from Jane Doe, who then went to the hospital, got a rape kit, has some witnesses, at least the 2 other women that were being flirted with against their will, who are telling a similar story to her about how he's touching their leg. You have the hotel staffer. And so, then it becomes kind of this he said, she said story. It's gross. It's sick. And then obviously, which I haven't mentioned, which we'd learned before, there was a private settlement, between the 2. And so, that's what we have on this story. Obviously this should be something that Pete Hegseth is questioned about diligently by members of the Senate. There's been all this focus on the Matt Gaetz ethics report. This story, if true, I mean, if you take the Jane Doe version of the story as fact, It's a married woman that he sexually assaults in a very dark and aggressive way at a conservative conference. I mean, that is a allegation that is at least on par, if not even more alarming, if you were to take it as true. you know, and I guess there's no reason to rank kind of sexual assault allegations, but a rape allegation comes with the kind of seriousness that is at an equal, certainly, or greater level than what Gates has been accused of. So hopefully Hegseth is questioned about this, and obviously you have to respect the wishes of the accuser, whether she feels comfortable coming forward, etc. It's a really tragic situation and a pathetic one, really. I mean, it's tragic, but the behavior of Pete Hegseth, the idea that this is the best person we have to be the Secretary of Defense, is obviously preposterous on its face, and hopefully, we'll see the type of scrutiny on this that it deserves, because I think that the Republicans do want to kind of push this under the rug, and be like, well, we're going to focus on Gates because we don't like him, and then we'll just kind of push these other people through. This is too serious of a job for that. So Lisa Murkowski, Tom Tillis, Mitch McConnell, Susan Collins, et cetera, Mike Crapo. Nobody ever mentioned some of these people. They just get to just fade into the background. John Hoeven. Show some backbone. And let's ask Pete Hegseth about this and ask him about his behavior and see what more comes forward. All right. There'll be much more here on the Bulwark YouTube feed. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll be seeing you soon. Peace. Hey, if you like this video and our content, I'd love for you to become a Bulwark Plus subscriber. You get access to bonus podcasts, secret podcasts, and newsletters we put out every day, plus some behind-the-scenes takes that I don't always post on this feed. In addition, you can become part of the Bulwark community. Come over to our Substack and comment and meet other like-minded people. We'd love to have you. Starting today, you can get a free trial at thebulwark.com/free trial. The link is right here on the screen and below in the description. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Come on and give it a free try today.